The self-titled album from the Offspring has a song called "Kill the President," and they got rid of it, I think, in like '99 when they reissued the album because, well, when you're more, I don't know, underground punk rock,
Yeah.
you do songs like that, and then when you're mainstream, double platinum, triple platinum, or whatever, maybe you don't say "Kill the President." You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was like it was very obvious to me, even as a kid. I get introduced to Americana, the first album from my first album from them, which then instantly I buy Ixnay, which then instantly I buy Ignition, and then I never bought the self-titled. My friends had that one, and then we're like listening to this, being like, "Oh, these are the roots of this band that we're all big fans of," and I'm like, my friends like, they got rid of the song, you can't get it anymore, and even now it's like hard to find. You have to find like old YouTube clips,
like a YouTube rip or something.
like the song's there. It's just crazy to me that you get this guy who goes from writing a song called "Kill the President," which like I'm going to get in trouble for even saying the name of that song on YouTube. And in the Americana album, you've got "The Kids Aren't All Right," which is like a song lamenting the end of tradition, basically.
Yeah.
And you get "Why Don't You Get a Job?" And so now I talked about this before the mandate stuff, before the vax mandates. I'm like, this is like a conservative punk rock band almost. Like, why don't you get a job? What is the punk in this band? They're telling you to go work hard. And I'm like, I dig it. You know what I mean? And "The Kids Aren't All Right," saying like kids are doing drugs and hooking up. What the hell's going on? And that was that was the message I got from a punk rock band when I was like 12 or 13 years old. What's crazy to me is you mentioned that when you're doing these shows, there were other people playing who weren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
But they fire you. The punk band fires you. And it feels like that was the ultimate stake in the heart of like, this is not a punk rock band. They're not standing up for principles. I don't think they believe in anything. Not that I thought a mainstream successful pop punk band was like the most political and like ideologically driven. But man, that was really like getting, I don't know, like my childhood was smacked in the face. Because I at least thought the message of "Why don't you get a job?" was like, yeah, man, don't leech off other people. You don't got to, that wasn't necessarily a pro-establishment thing. "The Kids Aren't All Right." That was big. And it was like, work hard, be good, be a good person. But now it just feels like the ethos behind the band, when I heard this story, was fuck it all. I want to get paid.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to unfairly single them out as like the poster children for what happened. Like they drew the short straw of that I was willing to say something. This was happening everywhere. It's not special
The lockdowns
to,
and stuff.
No, what leaning on people for the vaccine. Like the industry was mandating that, everyone from the promoters down, promoters put pressure on the tour managers, put pressure on the bands, put pressure on the crew. Like everybody had to do like it was saying, like performing caution, but we're protecting profits. We're not protecting people. Every band was doing this, but a lot of other people in my position just kind of like, left or were replaced and didn't say anything because it's, there's loss of, I don't want to lose other opportunities. I'll just leave quietly, right? But for me, when we made our statement, it was threefold. Was number one, I didn't want to have the same conversation individually with all my friends and family and people. Like, they're about to go on tour. I'm getting hit up for tickets to these shows that I know I'm not going to be at.
Wow.
And so I'm like, well, I don't only want to have this conversation once. But number two, it felt like somebody needed to say something about what was happening. Because if I'm getting squeezed here, then everyone's getting squeezed here. And it's, it's not a personal thing. It's a business thing. Like everybody wants to make their money, right?
Yep.
But so I'm like, well, if I don't say something, someone's got to start the conversation. And I also wanted anybody else who was in my position to know that they weren't the only ones going through that. Like, how do you find your people if nobody puts themselves out there like, oh man, this happened to me? And as soon as we did, we get inundated, my Instagram, with messages from people from everywhere and all walks of life, lots of musicians, actors and stuff, but nurses, doctors, people from everywhere going, I'm in the same position,
But were they unwilling to speak up?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't begrudge anybody for not speaking up. Like I don't recommend it. Like it's not for the faint of heart. Like people are like, what does it cost you? It costs you everything. Like,
Yeah, but
but
I
yeah,
understand.
and everybody says, oh, why didn't you get a fake card and stuff? I know plenty of people working on fake cards, and I'm twofold on that issue as well. I don't have a problem with someone doing what we're all in an impossible situation, and whatever anybody needs to do to take care of themselves and their family, they should do it. But would it be nicer if more people spoke up? Sure, it certainly would help. But both things can be true for me.
Well, this is what bums me out is I'm a little kid. I get this album, the Americana, and the tab book.
Mm-hmm.
I get this Squire Fender guitar, and I start learning about Dexter Holland, the lead singer, founder, I guess, OG, him and Noodles. And he's working on a degree in microbiology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, this dude's sticking it to the man, succeeding in the industry. Like in this space, he's criticized, and also working on a degree. I'm like, as a little kid, I was like, that's so cool. He's a cool guy. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say like it was a role model or anything like that, because I didn't really have anybody that I looked up to and had posters of. It was just like, that's really cool. We need leaders. I understand what you're saying. A nurse, a drummer, somebody who's trying to get by and protect their family and live their life is in a difficult position. What can they do?
Right.
If they speak up, what's the impact they can have?
Right.
If the Offspring, multi-platinum, decades of success in the industry, still to this day, the most sales for an independent album. I'm pretty sure Smash, right? It's never
like
been
15
beaten.
million. It'll never be beaten.
And it'll never be beaten. This is an indie release that will never be beaten. And if anyone could have spoken up and said, don't fuck with us, it could have been him. It could have been the Offspring. He's rich already. He's got fuck you money. And he could have done, man, if he was worried about staff, employees, and he didn't want to be a leader, he could have said, I get it, Pete. This sucks. We're not going to let you down. If the venues don't let you in, we're going to have to get somebody else, but we're here with you the whole way, right?
Right.
You could have kept the job. You could have been doing the studio stuff. I mean, 14 years, does that mean nothing? So I'm like, the bare minimum could have been like, bro, we will take care of you. Don't worry about it. We are wealthy, successful, famous rock stars. Mm-hmm. Couldn't even do that. What I would expect, if it were me, if I had that kind of pull, and I'm playing a show, and you're the Offspring, you say to the promoter, I wonder what the headline's going to be when one of your top bands pulls out because of what you did to our drummer. Make your choice. We needed, any leader, because what you're saying is true. Everybody's getting leaned on. Everyone's getting pressure. They're going to each and every person, every band. And I've said it over and over again. If one rock star, if one band, one headliner said, we will pull out, we will force a refund, we will breach the contract, go fuck yourself. Those venues would start sweating bullets.
Well, the thing was, there was a handful of people that did that. Like you got Eric Clapton, I'm not going to play Segregate Audience. You've got people like John Rich and Kid Rock, but even somebody like Dorothy, I don't know if you know her, she's like a metal rock singer. She was, to me, like her stand, she's like, I'm not forcing anything on my crew. We're not playing shows that force it on the audience. Like for somebody of that size to really put it on the line where it would cost her something, like to me that meant a lot. Like I think she's really cool.
That's awesome to hear. I mean,
yeah. And so if somebody hadn't started pushing back a little bit, I'm sure there's more. That's off the top of my head. That's all I got. But I don't know where we'd be right now. Like I saw the protocols on one of the biggest tours that went out in, I guess it was 2021. And I saw a friend of mine was a tech for one of the bands on it and emailed me the specs that the crew received. And it was insane. It was like multiple bands on the bill. Each band is in their own bubble. They will not interact with the other bands. Inside your band bubble will be broken up into smaller bubbles, like the band itself travels in one bubble. The crew is in a bubble. Inside the crew bubble, if you are stage left, that is your bubble. These are the people that you interact with. Your bubble will move through the backstage areas together. And it was crazy. I'm like, it's hard enough to be on tour already and to be boiled down to here's the 4 people you're allowed to interact with for the next 2 months while you're on. Like, I'm like, it just sounded like prison to me. I'm like, how is anyone enjoying this? I understand people want to make money. I get that. But, it's hard to be on tour. Like, not boo-hoo, oh man, I traveled the world. But, you're away from your family. A lot of it is, you've got the hour or 2 that you're on stage every night, but then you got to fill the rest of your day. I mean, people think everyone gets into drinking and stuff because it's a party, but it's like, oh man, it's lonely.
And heroin.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't start heroin because you're having the best time on the road. And
Exactly.
I think that's a hard thing for people to square. Is like, well, you're traveling the world and this and that, and it's like, yeah, but you're basically isolated and by yourself. And so now with COVID on top of all of it, you're isolated even more.